Every day, there are incredible preparedness deals floating around the internet, but who has time to dig through dozens of websites to find them? That's why we created PrepperFinds.com, your one-stop site for the best prepper deals online. Our team scans the web, finds the biggest discounts on survival gear, food storage, water filters, radios, and more, and posts them in one easy place. No more wasting hours searching or missing out on limited time sales. At PrepperFinds.com, you'll see the best deals every single day, so you can save money while stocking up on what really matters. Check it out today at PrepperFinds.com. Bookmark it, visit daily, and never miss a deal that could keep your family prepared. That's PrepperFinds.com, where smart preppers shop.
Survive, thrive, stay alive. It's time to get prepared with the Prepping Academy podcast.
Good day and welcome into another episode of Grid Down Comms Up on the Prepping Academy podcast. I want to welcome everybody in today on a very, very, very warm, nice spring day outside. And let's talk about all the things that are going on with our food production systems. Not a lot being talked about this, but with the conflict in Iran and the interruptions with supply chains and petroleum product flow through the Strait of Hormuz, we need to have a discussion about this. I'm sorry for the clickbait title, guys, but it is the truth. Preppers are going to starve because of what we're going to talk about today. Now, before we dive too far into this, I want to talk to you guys about something else. There is a new product out there created by the founder of PrepperNet called Area Study Map. Area Study Map is a way to bring your collection of information in your area, water resources, food resources, potential threat areas, bottlenecks, information about chemical and nuclear and other hazards, as well as any information you want to add to the map yourself, into a 21st century solution where that you just download this offline product. It does require internet to download data sets, but once you save your information, it is completely offline and does not need an internet connection to function. You bring all of your information in and you have an area study that didn't involve crayons and plastic sheets and all kinds of other dry erase markers, magic markers, pens, stars. Does not look like a kindergarten craft project, but is a fully searchable database of information that you can store offline on your computer. And if you are truly, truly, truly paranoid about that kind of thing, you can take one computer and you can download the data sets, build your area study map, export all the configuration files and the program, and then you can put it on a computer that's never touched the internet and have a totally air-gapped solution. So, pretty cool. If you're interested in that, go check it out at areastudymap.com. While you're there, you can get $50 off the cost of a lifetime license using Grid Down Comms Up. That is GRIDDOWNCOMMSUP. And that'll save you $50 off the cost of admission to what is proving to be a really, really cool piece of software. All right. Back to the topic at hand. As everyone knows, unless you have been living under a rock or in a cave, that we are at some sort of war, conflict, whatever you want to call it, with the nation of Iran, however you want to pronounce it. But it's causing disruptions in energy markets. Everybody sees it at the pump. Here, gasoline's $3.50 a gallon for regular, diesel's $5 plus. This is going to have impacts on our food supplies and any other products that we use that are transported or produced touching oil. And that list does not stop. If you've watched the Taylor Sheridan series Landman and listened to some of the spiels in that about what all petroleum is in, if you're touching it right now, petroleum was used to produce it. Now, one of the things that we don't talk a ton about with petroleum is that it's not really a petroleum product as much as it is a natural gas product, but both of those come from the Middle East. We also produce a lot of it here, but a lot of natural gas comes out of the Middle East, and there's a process that I never can pronounce that is used to produce nitrogen and ammonium products from that natural gas using a catalyst that is made out of iron, I believe, and it produces a product that we use for fertilizer, the big part of fertilizer. If you've ever bought chemical fertilizer, and I hope you're not using chemical fertilizer now, but if you have, that first number in the 3 digits is nitrogen, and that comes from natural gas derivatives, shall we say. So one of the big concerns that is going on at the moment is with the issues getting natural gas into many of the places in that part of the world that produce cheap nitrogen fertilizers like ammonium nitrate. We're going to have a lot of problems with commercial monocrop production because there is not going to be enough fertilizer to go around, or the cost of fertilizer is going to go up significantly, which of course will be passed on to you or result in less products available at higher prices. Gotta love those second and third order consequences, right? So the reason that I say that eventually preppers are going to starve because of this is I want to kind of do a deeper dive into this, and we're going to talk about one of the things that I am very passionate about and think that we all need to be practicing, and that is permaculture and regenerative farming. And I think that the second Dust Bowl, the second Great Depression, the second mass migration of people in large-scale famine, sort of like we saw in the early 1900s when we saw the widespread use of tilling and other soil disturbing processes that caused the Dust Bowl when a drought came around. I am concerned we're going to see a similar situation that is going to be caused by chemical fertilizers. Okay, let's talk about chemical fertilizers for a minute. So chemical fertilizers, when we introduce them into the soil, they provide nutrients to the plants to make the plants grow. Now, these nutrients are not the same as the nutrients that are produced in nature. If you go into the forest, you look at the wonderful black, dark earth that is everywhere in the forest. Well, that's the product of natural decomposition, natural funguses, natural bacteria, and biological life in the soil. And there's so much. If you look at soil from there under a microscope and you see all the living organisms in it, and that is healthy soil that grows healthy plants that are nutritious for us to eat. Now, chemical fertilizers, they tend to kill all of that stuff. They do not create a soil environment that is friendly towards all of these natural bacterial, fungal, biological processes that go on in our soil to produce the nutrients that our plants want. They tend to kind of kill everything. And it's similar to if you ate a diet of not food, okay? We're going to say that the stuff that comes out of the side of the fast food drive-through at many fast foods, that is not food. The highly processed stuff that you get at the gas station, if you probably get in trouble if I say, the little cakes filled with, you know what I'm talking about. You've seen Zombieland, right? If you ate nothing but that highly processed food, you're not going to be very healthy, right? So our plants that eat nothing but a processed diet of fake food, i.e. fertilizer, that is chemical based tend to not be as healthy. And that's 90% of what's out there that we're seeing and eating. So my concern that I have with this is, and this probably won't be the time that it happens. It could be. I don't know. I can't read the future. I can't tell you when that it's going to finally go down, but this is going to be kind of a warm-up, potentially in some ways, for having to figure out what are we going to do to produce food if we do not have these chemical inputs. And the chemical inputs allow certain non-natural things to happen, okay? If you are used to seeing, if you live in Indiana and you see row after row after row after row after row of corn or soybeans or whatever, and you see that year after year after year after year, well, that's not normal. A farm, a healthy agricultural production world, is not a single crop, because that crop is yanking the same nutrients out of that soil every year. It's building up potential harmful bacteria, fungi, and other thing to the crop that grows there. And in general, it is not sustainable. This is not a regenerative. This is not a sustainable. It is constantly taking from the soil. It is taking from the land, and it is never putting anything back. There's rumors when that people first came to the Americas from Europe that there were feet of topsoil in many places. And now if we got a couple of inches in most places, we're doing good. And we've caused this because we use bad farming practices, because we have chemical treated lawns, because we have all of these horrible things around that are killing our soil and are not adding back to it. You should be building 1/4 of an inch of topsoil or better every year, not removing it. This is not a sustainable and healthy situation that we're in. And when the music stops and it's time for everybody to find a chair, the problem that we're going to see is there is not going to be soil that can produce foods without this outside chemical introduction of nutrients. And we're going to be like the local meth addict or crackhead that is going through withdrawals. There's going to be a long period of time where we're trying to detox from these chemical fertilizers that we can't do anything, okay? It's not going to be a year. Your year's supply of food, in this case, probably isn't going to be enough.
Hey, let's take a quick break.
Has your data been hacked? Do you feel uneasy about the vulnerability of your personal information online? Were you involved in the Target, LinkedIn, or Microsoft data leaks? Don't know? If not, then pay attention. Join Forrest Garvin from PrepperNet for a free webinar on privacy and security. Gain insights into safe internet browsing, VPNs, crafting online aliases, secure emails, detecting if your data has been hacked, and managing passwords. Secure your spot today for this webinar on privacy and security. It's free. This webinar delves into comprehensive strategies for bolstering your online privacy. We've got you covered, from fortifying your passwords to shielding your financial information and mastering state-of-the-art encryption techniques. We're offering 2 convenient dates to suit your schedule. Reserve your spot now at preppernet.com/privacy. Don't let cyber threats erode your peace of mind any longer. Take the first step toward a safer, more secure online experience by joining us for our free webinar. Remember, knowledge is power when it comes to safeguarding your privacy. Sign up now at preppernet.com/privacy. We'll see you there.
To allow people to regenerate agriculture and regenerate their soil so that they can produce food without this constant drug hit from the big agricultural chemical fertilizer initiatives, okay? It's going to take decades to fix the soil. Yeah, it's going to take a long time. You can fix your soil quicker, okay? But on a large scale, the scale we see industrial farming, where we're farming hectares, it's a lot more difficult than it is for you to fix your couple of acres that need some help. So if you don't know anything about regenerative farming, if you don't know anything about permaculture, guys, I love Billy Bond. Go check out his YouTube channel. Dude's awesome. He's a hoot to listen to in public too. If you get a chance to meet him, do check out Joel Salatin. There are a ton of folks that do this stuff that can help you along with your journey of moving away from modern agriculture into more sustainable and, frankly, healthier ways of producing abundance of food, okay? The problem is the rest of the world is really going to be up the creek, okay? We will see famines that are of biblical proportions. In fact, those particular famines that are talked about in Revelation, this could be what causes them, is a loss of chemical fertilizers and the time that it takes. Now, guys, being the follower that I am, I'm leaning towards 7 years of food, guys. I think, it's a biblical number. I know that's kind of crazy for you guys who are new to this that are going, I don't have 6 months of food. What am I going to do? How am I going to ever have 7? I'm going to talk about my plan here in just a minute on that front, because I don't have 7 years either. So it's just where I kind of am beginning to think I need to be. So as we look at this situation with the Middle East, we see ourselves setting up potential for a great deal of famine around the world. Do I think that will come to pass? I don't think so, but this is a warning bell, okay? This is a dry run. This is a bit of a test that you should be looking at to pay attention to what goes on in the agricultural world as a result of this. In 2020, we saw a bit of this too. There were fertilizer availability problems. There were a lot of issues with production and transportation of the things needed to grow foods. And if you have to transport your livestock 1,000 miles to get them processed, and you have to transport the food for them another 1,000 miles from another direction, we know that's not sustainable. And it's not healthy for the land either, because we got to look at the land as well. In a healthy homestead, a healthy farmstead, we have everything that we need in one location. We have animals, we have various types of livestock that are taking care of pests, that are producing manure, that are, in some cases, turning the soil for us. They are a healthy part of the ecosystem as we move. We have trees, we have fruit trees, we have them creating organic material, we have some of them that are nitrogen fixers. We have a variety of things going on there that are putting back into our soil, producing the things that we need in order to have a healthy ecosystem on our farm. And then, of course, we have vegetables, we have cover crops, we have other things that we grow that, again, put back into our farm. And we're keeping the toxic chemicals, we're keeping the things out of the farm that kill the bacteria, that kill the plants, that cause the plants to grow slow, that damage the soil bacteria and damage the fungi and the other thing that we need to have healthy soil and have good decomposition. One of the things that, I mentioned Billy Bond earlier, he says, if you can't put cardboard on the ground in your farm, cover it with some wood chips, and the cardboard be gone in a few weeks, you don't have healthy soil bacteria. Because that stuff goes, oh, it's dead carbon. Yum, let's eat it. And then it goes right after it, and it goes away very quickly. So if you put cardboard down and you cover it up a little bit, and it stays kind of moist, and it's still there 6 months later, you got problems. We really have to look at what can we do to create sustainable farming? What can we do to create those things in our prepping world? And I realize everybody who's an urban, suburban prepper, that kind of thing. Suburban, if you've got like an old school, like acre, 3/4 of an acre, space, then you may be able to do something with that. If you're in one of these new McMansions on a 1/4 acre, you're going to have problems. Plus, depending on the neighborhood that you're in, you're going to be exposed to all the chemicals and toxic crap that the neighbors that want this golf course looking unnatural yard, they end up on your property too. This stuff transfers. It doesn't stay where people put it. That's going to negatively impact your ability to grow things as well. So something to think about, this whole idea of, we weren't meant to be in cities. We weren't meant to be really in dense suburban areas. God created us to be in a more rural, touched grass, look at the sky type environment. Well, we have to look at these things, and we have to think about this as preppers, and how it works and whatnot. And one of the things I want to talk about now is, and I'm going to pick on my friend Forrest. Right after we met, I kind of gave him some crap about his bug out location and some of the things there. And he has the valid argument that he does not want to run a farm on his bug out location because then people see that as a source of food. I get it. Something that you can do, though, is you can build your soil, even if you're not growing things in it. You can grow cover crops that just look like an overgrown field. You can add, wood chips and manure and things that are decomposing that will help benefit and build that soil. Even if you're not growing, plants and food in it right now, you're growing plants, but you're not growing food plants. You can do things to improve that soil now that doesn't look like a garden and doesn't look like a place people are going to come and raid when the balloon goes up. But you need to be thinking about that. You need to be prepping. You need to be fixing that now, because if you just bought a piece of rural land that was previously used for some kind of commercial agricultural process, the soil is likely destroyed, and you're going to have a lot of work to turn it around. So yesterday was the day to start on that. So keep those things in mind as you plan your bug out location, as you plan where your mag group's going to go. If you're planning on food production, you need livestock. You're going to have a way to do that. I'm sorry, Forrest, rabbits aren't kosher, so but I know a lot of people do rabbit things. Sheep are like big rabbits. Okay, they reproduce quickly. They produce all kinds of useful products, and they taste really good, especially if you smoke them over cherry. But that is some good stuff. All right, so enough of the cooking tips for today. But we live a life of abundance. That's part of being prepared, part of being a prepper. While everybody else is eating lifeboat rations, we have smoked leg of lamb, fresh asparagus, fried okra, cornbread, whatever, and homemade butter. This is our life of abundance because we can produce these things. So it's something to think about in your journey. And where does this fit in for you? Now, kind of carrying on with that whole same idea there, along with building your soil, building your stuff, working on that. Now, that's something that you need to be thinking about years ago. In truth, the window could be closing. Some people are saying the window is closing and things are going to get bad. But we need to think about our sustainability of the area that we're in. And it's great now when you can pay somebody to bring you a dump truck load of horse manure or cow manure that's not been fed, grain that's got graze on in it, and it's not got chemicals and stuff in it to your farm. Well, that's awesome now, but what are you going to do when there's no trucks running and the other farms are struggling? You got to think about this as the whole ecosystem where you're at. So I encourage you guys to think about this and think about your food production. Think about what you're doing now, because there's a high probability at some point that we will see some sort of famine. And it may not be a total without rule of law. It will not be the total collapse, at least initially, that many of us prepare for instantaneously, that, overnight things will go bad. It will be a slow burn, and you can insulate yourself from having to pay a day's wages for a pound of wheat or what it may be, $10 a pound for beef. By having production of a lot of this stuff on your own. So those are very important insulating principles for us as preppers. And I mentioned I was going to tell you guys, I don't have 7 years. What am I doing? Okay. So kind of just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what my plan on that front is, because 7 years of food is a lot of food and it's very hard to store. So my way of looking at this is maybe I don't actually need 7 years of food. I need 7 years of the things I cannot produce, okay? I don't grow grain, okay? It's not a use of my property that I want to use. So, and it's cheap and it's easy to store. So I store a lot of grain. I store a lot of salt. I store a lot of things like that I can't produce. I store a lot of herbs that I cannot produce. I store sugar because I don't produce sugar. I store copper and lead because I don't produce copper and lead. I store a variety of other things that I can't produce easily on my homestead. And if I have 7 years of that stuff squirreled away, then I can offset that with the things that I can produce. I can produce eggs. I can produce fruits. I can produce vegetables. My raspberry patch is getting huge. I'm so excited this year. I'm going to have so many raspberries. So looking forward to that. They are by far my favorite berry. So we're going to have a lot of those. I've got 5 new fig trees sitting over here in little solo cups that I started from cuttings over winter. So, there's things like that. There are fruits, there's vegetables, there's things that I can produce on my land. And if I can produce all of that I need, then I can offset what I need to store. Now, it's good to have some other stuff stored in case you have a crop failure. It's just wise. But we have to think about that when we think about, okay, how am I going to store the 7 years? Or if maybe you're just called for a year or 2 or 3 or whatever. There are certain things that, even as we look at it from a typical prepper perspective, and we want a year's supply of food stored away in order to come out of this. Well, there's more to it than just that, because even if we come out of that, there's still going to be things that are hard to get, like batteries and off-grid power production and things like that. I can't produce that on my homestead easily. So we store those things. We store the things that we cannot produce. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, I don't produce anything. Well, you better get good at producing something. Because if you're in the group that, I got 6 months of food and I can't produce anything, you're the clickbait title. I'm sorry, but it's a tough one. It's tough to be the one at times that has to tell people, look, you got to do better. And I know it's hard. I know it's really hard. Everybody's struggling now. Prices are insane. Things cost 5 times what they cost a few years ago. It's tough. I know. Okay. You're working 2 jobs. You got a side hustle. I get it. But I also care about my audience. I care about my friends. And I want you guys to have every leg up when it comes to surviving whatever it is that comes, because I don't want you guys to be the ones that are eating rice and beans and rice the entire time until you run out of rice and beans and rice and don't have anything. That's not the way I want my friends to go out. I want you to live like a king during the collapse. Okay, that's our goal here. We're not going to figure out how do I barely survive, how do I thrive during the collapse so I can take good care of my family and my tribe. So with that being said, I want you guys to really think about this, okay? This is something that you guys need to put some brain power into and think about the second and third order impacts potentially if this thing in Iran were to go further sideways and there to really be some shortages and agriculture to really fall apart globally because of this. I want you to have a plan. I don't want you to freak out about this, okay? I don't want you to go panic buy. Don't go and burn the credit cards. I don't want you guys to do that kind of thing. But I want you to think through it. And I want you to have, okay, these are the steps. This is my action plan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need wood chips. I'm going to get on chip drop. I'm going to schedule somebody to drop wood chips. I need a lot of wood chips. Okay, got that. I need some straw that is not got grazon in it. I'm going to find somebody that's got that so I can make some good compost. I'm going to hit up the neighbors for their grass clippings if they're not sprayed with chemicals. and I'm going to use that to make compost. And I'm going to get some chickens so I can have chicken manure to add to it, and they can process and help with compost. Maybe I got room to get some bigger livestock. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to look at all of these different steps. I'm going to get good at making compost. I'm going to use the Berkeley method or whatever. I'm going to get myself a big compost thermometer, and I'm going to make really good compost, okay? Because those are the things we need to do. And I'm going to grow a garden this year. And this year, I'm going to start maybe at a 10 by 10, say. Some of us have big gardens. We've been doing it for a while. We know what we need to do. Start small. Don't get overwhelmed. And I'm going to grow some stuff. If you're in the South, plant a garden, grow some okra, grow some tomatoes, maybe get your asparagus. If you like asparagus started, man, I love me some pickled asparagus. Get your asparagus started. It takes years to get asparagus doing well, and I still struggle with it. Also, now is the time to think about your perennial food producers. Blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, fig trees, apple trees, peach trees, cherry trees, plum trees, grapes, all of those things that perennially produce. And this is really where we as preppers, okay, we got to think smart here. We need to be focusing on that stuff too. And we need to be focusing on it, frankly, right now, more than we do about growing celery, okay? Because celery, I got to plant every year. It's like my tomato. I got to plant them every year, okay? I got to tend to them every year. I got to harvest. I got all this stuff. Okay, if you are crunched for time and you're saying, man, I can't grow a garden every year. Okay, cool. Well, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, fruit trees, plant those things, establish them, take some care of them every year, and every year they're going to produce for you, okay? You're going to get all of this delicious fruit that's high-dollar stuff in the grocery store, and you're going to have this every year for your family. And every year they're going to get bigger, and they're going to produce more, and they're going to do better, and they're going to produce more. And yeah, you got to prune them, you got to take care of them, you got to look out for fungal things. There's some work associated with it, but it's a whole lot less work than row cropping beans and having to pick them. Okay, it's right now for a lot of us that are trying to work a job and we're trying to do that. Think about the perennial stuff. Think about the stuff that if you get hurt and you can't work for 6 months, that are still going to be alive because they'll be around. They'll come up next year. Even if you missed planting season, they're there. They're producing. Think about that stuff, okay? Think about how you can integrate that and work on that now. Write out that action plan. Get working. It is coming up into spring. It is not too late to get a garden out. It's not too late to start this stuff. Yeah, you're a little bit behind here. I've already got 10-inch tall tomato plants sitting next to me here in the shop that under grow lights that I started 2 months ago. But it's not too late. Get that stuff out there. Do that stuff. Do the things, people, to make a difference in your survival, because I don't want you to be the prepper that starves. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up with that. I appreciate you guys listening. Next time around, I'm probably going to be talking about some communication stuff. I've got a couple more videos in the works for the @GridDownCommsUp YouTube channel. I'm going to be talking about field portable antennas and antenna durability, because a lot of the stuff that we depend on for emergency use really is like for that emergency where you get lost in the woods. It's to use it a couple of times, and then it doesn't matter if it breaks. It's just sort of a one-time use type thing. Whereas when the grid goes down and there is not going to be a resupply anytime soon, you got to have durable stuff. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. I got 2 videos lined up for that, as well as a video on how to set up your communications gear on your battle gear, your plate carrier, your chest rig, whatever it is. And we're going to talk about that in another video. So that's 3 videos for you guys to look forward. Hopefully I'll get to shoot those this week. Again, thank you for listening. This is Grid Down Comms Up on the Prepping Academy podcast. You guys have a blessed week, and I wish you a productive growing season.
Thanks for listening to the Prepping Academy podcast. Preppers Unite. at www.preppingacademy.com.
Are you a prepper or homesteader looking to connect with like-minded people in your area? Looking to start your own preparedness group? Already have a group? Well, look no further than PrepperNet. PrepperNet is dedicated to personal responsibility, individual freedoms, and being self-reliant. PrepperNet has monthly meetings in over 100 cities where you can meet and learn with like-minded people in your area. PrepperNet, where preppers unite. Find us online at preppernet.com.